Hey everybody, welcome to episode 4 of Fitless. I am John D'Ambrosio. I am here with my co-host Blaine Dusing,
Hello, hello.
and we are going to cover a topic that has just been kind of gnawing away at me. When I go walking or driving, I see people constantly walking with the weighted vests, and it makes me nuts. And I'll explain why. But Blaine, do you see people walking around in Florida doing the same thing?
I do. It's becoming more and more prevalent. I used to only see a couple of them and I didn't understand what they were doing or what they were wearing. And now I see it more and more people sweating their butts off. And I don't know, it's got to be 96 out there today with, whatever they call it, rucking or weighted vests. I don't know the actual terminology because I would never do it. But yes, I see it quite often.
Yeah, and I think it started out as rucking. And rucking is something that you do, in the military. And of course, you're doing this because you're going to be walking around wearing all this gear. So you need to get your body used to that. And if you're going to be doing something, just like if you're going to be in a push-up contest, well, you're going to have to do those push-ups to get better and better at them neurologically, physiologically. Your muscular system has to kind of adapt to that. So of course you want to do something to get better at it. And that's why it's in the military. But it transferred over to then civilian life, and it started as rucking with the big packs, and then they switched over to weighted vests. Now people are just always wearing the weighted vest while they're walking. And I don't know, do you see anybody with the actual rucksacks, or is everybody just wearing the weighted vest down by you?
I probably don't pay enough attention to either. I just see them and I kind of nonchalantly shake my head and drive past and just kind of feel bad that they think that that's, effective for whatever their goals are.
Yeah, and that's just it. You think, well, why are we so down on this? Isn't this a great form of exercise? Doesn't it help you burn fat and build muscle? Well, I've got a study here, and they set out to do exactly that. So it was called, the Invest in Bone Health study. So yeah, obviously a
I
vest,
see
but
what they did there.
they're
Clever.
clever, very clever. So the official study name is Invest in Bone Health, which is incorporating nutrition, vests, education, and strength training in bone health. So Wake Forest University did this. It was completed, I believe, in 2024. They analyzed the information in 2025, and they came out with a revision in 2026, which I'll talk about. But they spent $2.9 million on this. It was a grant from the NIH. The study design and length, because I want to be transparent on everything. It was a 12-month randomized control trial, 150 participants aged 60 to 85 living with obesity. And one of the things I want to let everybody know is if you had osteoporosis, you were not allowed to participate in the study. So they wanted people who were overweight in this age group, but we need to get some of the basics down to understand the results downstream. So if you're overweight, say I'm 400 pounds, well, due to it's called Wolff's Law, bones become more and more dense the more pressure you put on them. And it's piezoelectric. It's kind of complicated. But bottom line is, if you're heavier, you're putting more weight on your bones, and of course your bones are going to be more dense. So as you lose weight, your bones are going to get reabsorbed because they don't need that much mass. So, and that's normal, totally, totally normal. Now, when you get older and you're not active and you're very thin and light, that's when, you have osteoporosis, osteopenia, which is the thinning of the bone. So at that point, that's when it becomes dangerous. But just going from overweight and then getting down to a normal weight, you will lose bone mass. That is totally normal. So I want to get that out there first because this is super interesting. So I just want to cover all of this. So all the participants wore an active pal accelerometer, and it tracked their upright time, how much time they were moving. They had CT, they had DEXA scans, they had all of this stuff going on because they wanted to cover everything. They wanted to be very thorough. Now, my guess is that their goal was to determine how great wearing a weighted vest would be. So they had three groups. So they had a weight loss only group. So these people were on a severe caloric restriction. It was around 1,100 calories a day. And these people were not required to do anything. It ended up being that a subset of this group did a lot of walking, but some of them did not. But these people wore the vest all day long. They did it while they were sitting watching TV. They did it while they were cooking. They just wore the vests. So this group that had the caloric restriction and, oh, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. This was just the weight loss alone people. So group one is just weight loss. Group two is weight loss with the vest. And those are the people that they tracked. Again, they wore the vest all the time. And group three is weight loss and resistance training. So the group one that just did severe caloric restriction, they successfully, over the course of a year, lost 9 to 11% of their body weight. So you think, well, that's great. But muscle mass. They suffered substantial lean muscle mass, and it was wasted. They lost it as a byproduct of severe caloric restriction. So they lost the weight, but it wasn't just fat. They lost muscle. And their bone density also was significantly lost. They measured at the hip. So not unexpected. I mean, Blaine, you see this all the time, I'm sure. People who come in and say, I tried to lose weight and I just got weaker, and they didn't incorporate any sort of resistance training. This is probably pretty common, right?
Yeah, most of the people that say they've tried everything, I find it very, very difficult to believe that if you actually track your calories, your protein, if you write down what you eat, I tell people don't even track it, just write down what you're eating. Most people consume far more calories than they are led to believe. I mean, I don't think the majority of people quite understand how few calories 2,000 actually is.
Yeah.
If you were to go to any breakfast location near my house and order an omelet and they, give you all the sides with it, the toast, the whatever comes along with it, that's probably a 4,000 calorie meal if you actually added up everything that you're getting.
Absolutely.
And that's
The hash
one thing that
browns.
they're eating, and then they're snacking, and then they're having lunch, and then they're snacking, and then they're having dessert, and then they're having alcohol, and then it just goes on and on. Like most people are probably overweight people are, I'm guessing, consuming at least 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day while they think they're doing 2,000, which is.
And that is absolutely true. And that's why I thought this was interesting that these people were on and monitored such a restrictive diet. I mean, 1,100 calories is, that's borderline starvation. Between around 800 is where it starts to get extremely dangerous. So these people are 1,100. But they lost the weight, but no surprise, they lost the muscle. And of course, when you lose the weight, you're going to lose the bone mass. So that was expected. So then they go to the weight loss group that wore the weighted vest. Now, these people had high active walking times, so you think, well, great, these people are probably going to be holding on to muscle, and they're probably losing much more weight because they're wearing these weighted vests, right? Well, here it is. So they actually wore the weighted vest at home throughout the entire day. And while they're walking as well. So their weight loss was identical, 9 to 11% of total body weight. It added absolutely no extra weight loss or calorie benefit. And they lost lean muscle mass at the exact same rate as group one. And so walking around with the vest on did nothing to hold on to the muscle. So they didn't lose any more calories than the people who just restricted calories, and they didn't hold on to any more muscle. So again, right there, the myth is broken that I'm going to lose more weight, burn more calories, and I'm going to build muscle wearing that weighted vest. Doesn't happen. And I expected this, but it still surprised me to actually see it. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
I wholeheartedly believe it. I couldn't imagine it doing anything to stimulate any level of effective stimulus that would make any sort of adaptation. It's mildly uncomfortable. But, I hear people say, oh, I walk. And, I probably make quite a few people in the beginning angry. But people think that walking burns some sort of, astronomical amount of calories. Walking is so simplistic for your body. You've been doing it since approximately 9 months to 12 months old. Walking is second nature to your body. Because you put a little bit of weight on your overall physicality, it's not stressing anything to the point where you're breaking down any fast twitch fibers that would, render an adaptation being met. So it's just, to me, it's just a monumental waste of time. But again, it goes back to, not to bring functional fitness back in, but it's another realm of that, rucking, shaking ropes, jumping, on elevated boxes, slamming medicine balls. And I tell clients this, and it does make them laugh, but it's wholeheartedly true. I said, if the functional fitness stuff did not exist, if you could wipe everyone's memory clean of it, and you went outside and you saw your neighbor shaking ropes on their driveway, or jumping on and off of an elevated box, or on the side of their house throwing up a medicine ball and catching it, you would call the law enforcement agency to do a mental wellness check. But the fact that it's actually accepted, people see this and they're like, oh, he's got a weighted vest, he must be working hard. It's not doing anything that's stressing your body to force an adaptation.
Absolutely, and that's the part most people miss. They feel if it's harder to walk with the vest on, so it must be doing something, and it's not burning more calories, it's not building more muscle. Now, here's the one interesting thing, because this was a revision they made in 2026. They went back and looked at the data. So for the group that wore the vest all the time, again, they're sitting in their house or on the sofa, they're just wearing the vest. They really, I'm guessing, assumed that this would increase at least the bone mass, and it didn't. So then they broke it down and they looked at the accelerometers and they said, oh, wait a minute. The people who walked with the vest actually held on to their hip bone mass, and that's huge. But here's the thing. First of all, if you're losing weight, you should be losing that bone. Second, here's the way they did it. They had the weighted vest on. These people came in regularly. Every time they lost an eighth of a pound, they added an eighth of the pound to the vest. So the body was tricked into thinking, wow, when it's walking, when it's getting that impact, the weight was still there, so the bones did not reabsorb. So they still lost the muscle. They still didn't lose any more fat, but that small subset kept the bone mass in their hip, which was unnecessary anyway. They didn't need it. They should have reabsorbed it, but it showed that they did keep it. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to say it's a positive or it's just like an incidental finding. I think it's an incidental finding because, again, they eliminated people who had osteoporosis. So these people had healthy bones. So when you're losing the weight, you should have reabsorption of bone. The fact that these people didn't, it's interesting, but it doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't mean anything. And, you know, if they're doing that in some sort of laboratory environment, that shows no applicability to the general population. Because if you are participating in this activity, you're not going to have a scale that can register an eighth of a pound. And even if you do, you're not going to then add an eighth, a quarter, or a half a pound to yourself thinking, oh, my body's going to be tricked. Nobody's doing this outside of that supervised study, which then just kind of makes it null and void because it's not applicable to anything in the real world anyway.
Exactly. So let's move on to group 3 now. This is the people who had the same exact caloric restriction, and they did resistance training in the gym. Now, this was defined as they did walk, but they did gym lifting. So they did supervised, machine-based weightlifting sessions 3 days a week. So we do not know if it was to failure. I'm assuming it wasn't. But anyway, so they lost the exact same 9 to 11% of total body weight, but they successfully preserved lean muscle mass and improved muscle density, completely overriding the muscle wasting effects of the diet. So they lost the same amount of weight on the scale, but they didn't lose the muscle. They lost the fat. The bone mass was the same lost. And you think, well, weightlifting, shouldn't that increase bone mass? Well, yeah, if you're not in a severe calorie restriction, your body is not going to be doing it as aggressively. You're still, as your weight drops, your body's going to reabsorb bone. But you were triggering, going to the gym triggered the body to say, this muscle is important. We are not going to get rid of it. We're going to continue to get rid of the fat, and we're going to drop the bone because metabolically we're supposed to, because our weight has lowered. But you held on to that mass. You lost the same amount, 9 to 11%. You didn't go out and do anything crazy with the weighted vest, but you held on to that muscle and just lost fat. I mean, that alone to me says bag the vests, go for your walks for your health, and get to the gym and start doing resistance training, because that's how you're going to lose the fat and keep that muscle, which we've already discussed in the past is the organ of longevity.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it just reminded me of, I don't know if it was Doug McGuff or Ken Hutchins, you know, corporation weight loss. I don't know if this is registering with you when they give that analogy. I sometimes break it down for clients because they're like, okay, so why strength training better, and don't get all biology teacher on me, make it as simplistic as possible. And I'm fairly certain it was one of Ken Hutchins' analogies, and it was like a corporation analogy. It was like, okay, if you're in a caloric deficit or a slight caloric deficit, not as extreme as those examples, but if you're down 500 to 700 calories a day and your goal is to lose 1 pound of body fat per week, if you're just walking, It's going to take from bone, it's going to take from muscle, it's going to take from fat. If you are, especially properly performing high intensity strength training, view your body like a corporation. They're going to go into the boardroom and say, okay, we need to make some budget cuts. We're going to take some bone. Well, we can't take bone. We need that for whatever this emergency is. Okay, well, we're going to take some muscle. Well, we can't take any muscle for whatever this emergency is. Well, we're going to take some lean tissue. Nope, can't do that. Well, looks like the body fat department is going to be the only one that we're going to take this from because the strength training is severely rendering everything else in high necessity. And so your body, when you're strength training properly and in a slight caloric deficit, will only go to body fat as a storage. And I always like that, corporation analogy, and it makes it simplistic for people to understand versus only walking. Yeah, you're going to lose weight, but not the weight you want. Like you see, this sounds terrible too, but it's wholeheartedly true. If you see people that are morbidly obese and they take up walking as their only modality of exercise, if they've got a body shaped like a pear and they lose 50 pounds, you look like a smaller pear. You don't look any different.
Yeah, and that weight, 50 pounds that they lost, was not due to the walking. It was due to the dietary restrictions they put themselves on as a result of that. So then, like you said, they just became a smaller version of themselves. And they didn't reshape the body. They didn't get, oh, I got more muscle, less fat. It was just, everything just kind of shrunk, which, I mean, maybe that's okay for some people.
And I think that's another huge thing that needs to be addressed, because I tell my clients, and I believe it to be wholeheartedly true, that 95% of the work is outside of the gym. And when anybody new that's out of shape hops on any, the walking club, the rucking club, whatever, the placebo effect of that is simultaneously and maybe even subconsciously, they're eating better because they believe this other thing is doing the work. And so they're going to dinner saying, you know what, I'm going to have a chicken salad instead of pizza. I'll, have a water instead of alcohol. And they're completely modifying their diet, not even taking that into consideration. And they get on the scale and they drop 4 or 5 pounds and they go, oh, look at this walking club must really be working. No, it's because subconsciously you're eating better because you want to feel better for the activity. It has nothing to do with the activity. You just modified your diet, your lifestyle, your hydration, and your sleep most likely.
Exactly. And that's so important. And I think another myth that's kind of tied to this, and I hate to even discuss this because it's important, but people emphasize it. Muscle does burn calories. There's no denying that. It's metabolically active. You have muscle, you're going to burn calories. But that amount of calorie burn is very, very low. The beauty of exercise is you get stronger. Obviously, that low continuous burn of calories. But again, when you're going to lose weight, your body will not lose that muscle if you're exercising. It's going to focus on burning fat. And people say, well, muscle, it'll jack up your metabolism. You'll just be constantly burning like a furnace. You can eat whatever you want. No, your metabolism will definitely be better than somebody who doesn't have the muscle. But again, I don't remember the exact caloric burn. It's not a huge amount. The purpose of exercising resistance training while trying to lose weight is to maintain and build that muscle so you stay strong, and so the body then doesn't say, well, we don't need this. It's using energy. We're in a deficit right now. Let's kill the muscle. No, use the muscle. The body says we absolutely need this, and it focuses on the fat. So even if you think, well, I want to do this because of the metabolic burn, and you realize, well, that's not true. It's still, your body will hold on to that muscle because you're using it. It's, you don't use it, you lose it, is extremely true.
Yeah, but I mean, just to piggyback off what you said, if you have a muscular physique, you're not going to burn that many more calories. True. Big caveat though, if, I don't know, someone that has a muscular physique like me at 6'5", 220 pounds, let's say all my muscle burns, for the sake of simplistic mathematics, 200 extra calories a day. Okay, but that's 1,400 calories a week, and that's forever. Forever. Right. So you say it's not that much, but if I really wanted to get lean and I take down my diet to 500 calories, in a deficit every single day, and in addition to that I'm burning 1,400 to 1,500 calories every single day or every single week, over time that is going to add up to something huge. It just doesn't seem like it in the moment.
Exactly. And I'm talking, really to the quick fix, instant gratification crowd who are just like, this is what I want, this is what I've heard, and then it's like, well, it didn't happen. What's going on? Oh, look, the muscle doesn't really burn that much. Yeah, in the moment, it absolutely does not. But like you're saying, over time, just like exercise, oh, I only went up, by 1 rep, or my weights only went up by a quarter of a pound this week. Well, you throw that in a quarter of a pound for 52 weeks, all of a sudden, wow, my weights went up a bunch. So you constantly talk about this, and I love it. Being consistent matters more than so many other things, and that applies to being healthy, exercise, diet, anything. I mean, learning guitar. You're constantly practicing the guitar. You're consistent. If you say, "Well, I'm just gonna kind of ditch this and I'll pick it up again in a couple of months," you're gonna probably lose some skill, and you're definitely not gonna all of a sudden magically get better. Consistency is so important.
Yeah, and it comes down, psychologically. I love, as part of my major in college, I love behavior and clinical psychology. I'm always reading really nerdy stuff. But, I always tell people that like motivation and discipline are shot glass amounts. People say, oh, you're so disciplined, you're so motivated. No, I'm not. Some days I do not want to be in here. Some days I don't want to train. The difference is you use the small amounts of discipline and motivation to then create a habit over the course of 3 to 6 weeks. And once something becomes a habit, then it becomes part of your identity. And once it's your identity, it's no longer something you do, it's who you are. Mm-hmm. And that is the monumental difference. Some days I don't pick up the guitar, or I don't want to pick up the guitar. I pick it up every single day. I take it off the stand and I put it right next to my couch. I play for like 30 minutes in the morning. And if clients are varying their times, if I have 10 or 15 minutes, I pick it up, I finger pick something. And it's funny that you just brought that up because I had a client I saw today who plays piano, and she's like, I've been playing only on the weekends, but I play for like 2 hours. I said, don't play for 2 hours on the weekend, play for 10 minutes a day. I forget what the statistic I read it from, but I believe it's wholeheartedly true. It's something to the effect of if you practice anything for 8 minutes a day, you will be better than 98% of the population at that thing. And yeah, was I absolutely terrible at guitar for a year? Yes, but I put it on my lap for 5 to 10 minutes every single day for the past decade. And now I can pick it up and play things that I hear just from the consistency because it's part of my identity. I play guitar, I read books, I eat well, I don't drink alcohol. It's part of who I am. It's not something I'm doing. And that's the monumental difference. Like Sunday, Wednesday, it's my training day. I don't even think about it. My partner and I just pick the time. That's it. Like my wife has gotten to know me so well that when we take vacations, I know I'm going to have fun on vacation. I don't care what you plan. If you want to plan excursions, if you want to plan a pool day, if you want to plan a restaurant. Before she tells me anything now, she'll grab the cell phone, look up the website and go, here's the gym. Or here's how far away the nearest gym is because she knows I'm not going to miss. I don't care. Like quick 30-second story, and then I'll let you go. Sorry, you got me off on a soapbox moment here.
No, that's fine.
My wife's father owns a very nice cabin out in Wisconsin, out in the middle of absolutely nowhere. It's gorgeous. It's out on this lake, 40-minute drive to the nearest Walmart or whatever. I found some mom and pop gym online, and my wife's like, oh my God, are you really? You can't even take a day off of the gym. What if somebody needs to use the car, blah, 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 blah. So I got up, I slept in a separate room the night before. I set my alarm for 5 a.m., brushed my teeth, went to the gym. It opened at 6. I probably overdid it because it was my only workout that time, but I probably did a full body beat down. Came back, nobody had woken up yet. I'm in the kitchen, and she's like, oh, are you going to take the car to go to the gym? And I'm like, I'm already back. It's part of my identity. It's what I do. It's not something, it's who I am. It's not something I'm doing, is my point. And once it becomes who you are, it's second nature. It's not consistency. It's not discipline. It's not motivation. If it's Sunday or Wednesday, it's a training day. What time are we going? That's
exactly.
it.
And I want to touch on this because it's also important because, you were extremely disciplined. And I used to do that too. I would look, where's a gym when I would go on vacation. And now if I'm going away for a week, I'm not going to work out because I know I'm not going to lose anything at that point. I miss it. I wake up. It's like, I'm not going to, but I'm not going to cut in time of the day to say I'm going to be running to the gym, even though it'll be 20 minutes for me to do it. But let's really quick just talk about that. Let's say you didn't work. You're like, you know what, there's no gyms around. I can't do anything. Are you going to shrink by missing that workout?
I'm not going to shrink at all. At bare minimum, I would find a way to do a big 3. Mainly, at that point, I do it kind of for psychological reasons because my body's so used to it. I'm not doing it out of any fear of missing out that my body is going to shrink
Right.
by any means. The main reason on vacation that I want to find a gym is because I'm a nerd and I like to play with new gym equipment and toys that I haven't used before. So if there's a point where I will overtrain, it will be in a new gym with new toys because I'm going to try everything. Maybe not take everything to failure, but I might be in the gym for over an hour just because I like to find, that's my jam. I love equipment. I used to build and put in equipment for an exercise company. Like, I love it. So it's not out of I need to work out. It's like, ooh, they have really fun toys and I'm going to go. So it's just, my wife knows that I'm a dork, and if I'm not reading a book or playing guitar, I'm messing with gym equipment. So it's just part of who I am. But no, I don't do it because I think I'm going to shrink. It would probably take me a month if I wanted to become completely lazy and do nothing other than train people and walk my dog to even start to lose an ounce of muscle mass. Because
Right.
my body is so conditioned to this stimulus, like in our mind, we know we're exercising for our health. Our body views this as a deathly attack. It thinks
Yes.
it thinks we fought a bear and lost. And it doesn't know when this is coming again, and the only thing muscle is really is a defense mechanism. So my body is not going to go from 220 to 175 in 3 weeks.
Right.
You're not going to see me in the next podcast and be like, Blaine, have you eaten in a month? You look amazing.
Right.
No, I'll look exactly the same.
And I just wanted to ask that question, just because people watching, because we talked about fear of missing out and cutting back, and I didn't want this to seem like we were contradicting ourselves. You can take the time off; you don't have to. But like you said, you're not going to lose muscle if you just said, "Hey, I'm going to just take this week off. I'm on a cruise and the gym is shut down for whatever reason and I can't use it." I mean, you could just say, okay, I'm going to do body weight things and absolutely get away with that. But it's really more because when it becomes who you are, it is a psychological thing. You enjoy it, even as, it's hard to say you enjoy something that's brutal, but it's brutal in an enjoyable way because you feel like, wow, I got a really good workout. I've done something for myself. And it's part of who you are. It's it's not as simple as breathing, but it is. It's like I need to do this. This is just part of my lifestyle now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I love the dopamine release. I love the endorphin rush. I do it for psychological health as well as physical health. And like I said, I really don't do it to, having big muscles and abs, yay, that's pretty. Like, I feel amazing every day. And if I don't do this, I get like a weird anxiety. Like, my body can tell it's a training day the second I wake up. It knows I have a plethora of energy. I train a few people, and as soon as my training partner gets here, we knock out 5-6 exercises in 15 minutes, and I'm just mentally, physically just dialed in for the next few hours, and I just enjoy that. I just need it for my own mental health as well.
And that's, I think, a part of exercise that people probably who are just getting into it may not understand. Initially, there's a learning curve. It's hard. You're super sore. It can even be frustrating because wow, I'm doing such a little weight. And again, our goal is not to move as much weight as possible. It's to work the muscles as much as possible. And they are two different things. We could go into that in another talk. We only have a couple of minutes left, but it's just something that really, once it becomes part of who you are, it is a psychological as well as physical sort of, I don't say elation, but it's just a really good feeling. And you do get, at least I get, anxiety. I normally try to get up very early and get to the gym before the day starts. And there's sometimes when that doesn't happen, I'm like, oh gosh, I got to squeeze it in now. Is it going to be crowded? I want to get in and out in 15, 20 minutes. I don't want to be waiting while someone's tooling around on their phone to get on another piece of equipment. So for me, I just love it.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even imagine that frustration just because I'm so blessed that I now have a studio in my house. I
Yeah.
couldn't go back to, I mean, I would go back to a commercial gym if it was a vacation or something, but I would not, on my own volition, willingly walk into a commercial gym because there'd be some guy in a leg press texting for 15 minutes and I'd go crazy because he'd be on one piece of equipment longer than it takes me to finish my entire session.
I've seen that so many times. I
That
mean,
could be a whole episode.
it really could be just like, I'm in and out of the gym and someone's still, they were sitting on a piece of equipment and they're on it when I walk out the door. It's just, yeah, that would be, we need like secret videotape of this, but
I know, man. I've seen, we could just share crazy stories. I remember one session I had in a commercial gym. I finished my whole session while one guy was doing tricep press downs the entire time.
it's just crazy. And And we talk about it again. We're down to the last 20 seconds. But once you flip that switch for the muscles to start to grow, you don't need to keep doing this, turn it on, off, on and off, on and off. The signal is sent. Walk away. Don't dig that recovery hole any deeper. Let the body recover and supercompensate. The
Yeah.
more you do at that point, it's just detrimental. You're not building more muscle. You build zero muscle in the gym. It all happens during the recovery and supercompensation.
Yes, sir. All right, that flew by again, man.
It did. Well, we covered some good stuff, and
Yeah.
I look forward to doing this again next week.
All right, sounds good, man. I'll see you next week.
All right, Blaine, take it easy.
You too.